Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the next perfect step, where all possibilities lie in conversations. We have a wonderful guest today, which Lori will introduce for us.
Yes, I'm so excited to have my good friend Jacob Massey with us. He's here with us from Sedona, Arizona, and he's just been a very special presence in my life. He's very loving and does wonderful healing work. And we're so excited to talk with Jacob today. So I just wanted to let you know a little bit about him. He's been a lifelong student of the body and spirit and how they integrate and express together. At a very young age, Jacob became aware of the subtle energetic language that moves through all living things and its pathways through the human body. This naturally led him to the extensive study of movement and energetic healing modalities around the world to further clarify, refine, and share the wisdom and presence accessible to us through the body that he had discovered through his own lived experience. Inquiries that are very much alive in Jacob and his work today are things like, how can we be fully embodied and connected to this modern world? How can we find healing we did not think was possible before? And Jacob has a website, and it's jacobmasseyhealing.com, which we'll post below. And we love to hear all about what you're doing, Jacob, and your healing and your journey. Anything you'd love to share, please do. Welcome.
Great. Well, it's wonderful to be here. And one of the biggest things I'm finding for this world is that we were joking right before recording this, is that there's a lot of left field Buddhists in the world. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of people with a lot of wisdom. And a lot of us live quiet lives. There's a lot of people that have so many gifts inside. And we can be talking about the person in the checkout line that you just look right away because, look away from them, just thinking it's an everyday person. But to be honest, if we inquire a little deeply, everyone has something profound to share. And this will segue into something that I teach a lot, is that the body knows this. Our mind judges, but the body has a sense of knowing. And that an ordinary person, when you listen from the depths of your heart and your embodiment, becomes an extraordinary transmission of what it means to be alive, what it means to be in participation with life. And your body knows this. This is why I teach the body and embodiment of that. The body is a ground for, it's a testing hypothesis because I don't know how deep it will go, but I believe a place of liberation and healing and wholeness. That I would even venture to say that without going fully into body, it'll be really hard to come into liberation in a healthy way, into wholeness, into aliveness, into what it means to be human and spiritual, because they go together. So my work really has come from a young age. When I was 4 years old is when I remember the first opening, and I felt that the universe was alive. And I'm very lucky to have this experience so young. So the door, the tree, a person, they all shared this consciousness. They all shared this sense of aliveness. And so I remember having this experience at 4 years old of just this opening going, oh my God, it's all alive. It's all alive. This is all alive. And what happened with that foundation of feeling everything as alive and communicative, I had a natural reverence starting to form at a young age. So this doorway of reverence, of appreciation, of wonder, of awe, things that the great scientists and sages spoke about as doorways and as experiences of being human and being awake, came at a young age. And I just kept entering it over and over through time. These sense of like, wow, like the tree has healing qualities. The tree actually can speak. The tree actually has energy that when I get close to it, I can hear it through my body. I can hear it through my senses. And I said, I'm not crazy. This is for real. Um, that experience deepened from 4 years old to 12 years old. And then I went into sex, drugs, and rock and roll from 12 to like 17, put it in the background for a little while. But you can't run away from truth. You can't run away from who you are. And I like to say, you can't run away from spirit knocking on your door. You have to answer eventually. So I answered around 17 and meditated, and all the experiences came right back of this alive universe, this alive body, this alive earth, this alive universe. And, you know, it brought me into a lot of different energy openings of sensitivity that all rushed back since I was a child. And that was the beginning of a big revolution for my understanding, my ontology of what it means to be alive, what it means to be connected, what it means to help this world in the deepest way of healing, wholeness, and embodiment. So that was my beginning. I'll just leave it right at that. You know what I mean? Because there's more. I mean, there's more to the story after that. Because when we wake up in a culture into this highly sensitive nature, you do need a teacher, in a way. I mean, we can listen inside, but we at least need a friend. We at least need a community. We need something to go, can you hold me in this, or can you help me in this, or can we relate in this? Whatever it is for us. And you can tell that a lot of children who didn't have that, it can be hard for them, or adults, people who never really came home going, oh, it's okay to belong here with these highly sensitive qualities that I can share with the world so they can heal more as well. So I sought that out later in life, and I studied with a lot of teachers around the world and dancing and body work, and I dove headfirst into what it means to heal, be alive, and be in the meaning of life itself.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how did you
Mhm.
handle the revelations that you had, that you said were coming, washing back onto you since you were young? I mean, that must have been a
Yeah.
little bit overwhelming and exciting, but what kinds of teachers did you find, and what direction did you go from there?
Lots of trial and error, but
Right.
but there's no error, right? There's only beautiful lessons along the way. So at 17, I went into nursing school, and I dove right in. I was in honor society. I was like going A's and B's, and looks like I was going to become a nurse. I was like, okay, I'm just doing this fully. And I was so unsatisfied. I looked around, and not to judge nurses, like deep bows, but what I noticed in my classroom was that I was seeing a misalignment to health. So I was learning one thing, and I was watching a lot of people drink Diet Coke and all these things and Doritos, and I'm like, that doesn't feel too right. And there was a lot of beauty as well in the class. But I said, there's something more here for me. It's not this. There's something more that I have to honor in myself. So when anatomy classes would happen, I'd just put my recorder on and read the Tao Te Ching, Lao Tzu, and which is a Taoist philosophy. And it just made sense. And then I started meditating, and in the classroom, all my sensitivities came back online. And I just said, I have to explore this. I want to know what spiritual healing is. I want to know something beyond medicine. I know there's something else here that's more, you could say, close to the source than just symptom healing. And I have deep bows to the nurse. I just want to say that, like, I work with doctors, I work with nurses, and it's such a compatible field of work, of working with preventative, like energetic medicine and Western medicine. So then I became a monk. I became a Zen monk, studied in John Dada Lori lineage, Montezuma, Zen Buddhism. And I dove in. I dove into what my body was. I breathed deeply into it. What am I? What is this? And had lots of revelations, and also found a limitation to that. I was like, I mean, I wanted a date. I wanted more of a holistic life. I was so young. But I said, this isn't the answer for me either. So then I said, there's something more to all of this. I left there too. And I said, I have to be in life. This is my path. I need to be in it with this high sensitivity. And I think I was protecting myself a little, being in a monastery. And I said, no, I want to be in the fire of life. This world is here to see the gift I have in my heart. And I believe that for everyone. That's my main context for life, is that we all have a gift to be shared. So I went back into life and had more energy openings, and it was very hard. I mean, I'd walk by someone and I could tell you what they ate for lunch, you know? I'd like feel it. And I'm like, oh, they had a hot dog, and you're actually, your pancreas is actually off, And that was the hard moment in my life where I feel like I had no borders around me. I just, all this information would rush in, and it was a gift I wanted gone. It was too much. It was too much because no one taught me how to handle it. There was no, my mother and father are gorgeous. I love them. But this was another notch beyond their knowing, you know? And I was like, okay, I need help. I need some serious help. So I would feel trees, landscapes. I would go across the forest and I could tell you everything about its health. Like, oh, it's a little mistreated. It's actually dying and it's going to die through time, or it's healthy and happy. I could do the same with a body because the body's an environment. It's the same. It's a landscape. So this would be continuing every day in, day out. It was hard for me to go out and interact with the world without having a rush of all this information of I was a meter for what was truth. So what was really occurring in the body, in the system, because the body is a truth meter. So I felt the truth of living systems. I felt the truth laying inside the thing itself. And in a world where we're not attuned to truth, we're usually attuned to distraction,
Right.
and we're attuned to like outward things, right? I was hearing the inner thing. And that was different for me. I was like, why am I inverted to the culture? I'm actually in the inner truth rather than the distraction. I was listening to the inner voice of everything and everyone, you know? So that continued, and I studied more Buddhism and went deeper because it was the only context that made sense to me. I said, well, the Buddha, that makes sense. I was like, this makes sense. I'll follow this path. It's all I know. I'll fast forward a little. By 24, I was initiated in 5 religions because I was going for it, right? And eventually I met a Sufi teacher, and he was a mystic. His name's John Ferdowsi Wyrick. He was my first significant teacher. And he's a doctor of chiropractic, a very internationally renowned Sufi teacher. And I remember seeing him on my first day, and he looked at me and he just was in awe of what he saw around me and my sensitivities. But he noticed that I was so scared and I was unintegrated in my gift. So he became my elder, and I studied with him for 11 years. 11 years under a man who had an awakening at 14 years old and became a world-renowned teacher by 22. And he brought me into the depths of what it means to be alive, to be fully here. And that was what I was looking for. Someone who would give me permission to enter life. Not go away from it and shelter, but gave me permission that it was okay with who I am to fully enter life and throw my heart into it and give it my all. And what I found was he saved me. He saved my life because through entering life, I regained confidence, happiness, and health. And, there's a lot more to his work. He does something called Naroda karma healing, which is working. We can go into some mystical realms if you like today too. It can go all over the light body that surrounds everyone. So I started having a lot of spiritual experiences with him and prior, that we are a soul. We are deathless and timeless. But the cool part I found was we incarnate here with patterns that are here to be worked out or to be understood from our soul level. And that's held in our causal body, our light body. And it takes practice to get to that subtlety of experience to start healing it. So he initiated me in this light body healing, and I spent years with him just doing my own healing and going in and healing my monk karma and karmas that took me away from the world, thinking it was a place of imprisonment, or a place of suffering, a place of danger. And that was the beginning of a deep, radical journey that God is everywhere, and or source, whatever you want to call it. It's in everything and everywhere. Um, and then after that, years of working with him, I now study with a medical medium. Her name's Ellen Kratzka. I want to give her just deep bows here on this interview, because she, again, was my next teacher that took this sense that we live in a spiritual universe and we don't need to go anywhere to find the beauty of yourself and the divine or God, that there is one right here where you're sitting, right here in the supermarket, right there in the grocery store. In that, if we are listening deeply enough, we're guided every minute and second of our day. Yeah. And it only takes one thought to reconnect ourselves into this stream of guidance. And for me, what I teach from studying with all these people, I mean, I only told 2 teachers, I've studied with many, that your body is the truth meter for that guidance to be clear as we rest, relax, and have the courage to enter the body. We will remember and reactivate and realign to the guidance that's always right here, guiding our life, almost to an incredible perfection. It's crazy. It just shows you how incredibly intelligent this universe is, that to me is a complete mystery still. But I can assuredly say it is guiding each one of us with utmost perfection when we learn, this is why I teach and why I do my workshops, because I believe in this, when we learn to align and reconnect to that source that's always running into us and through us. Yeah. Anyway, it was that long spiel.
No, that was fascinating.
Yeah, cool. Okay, good.
I have so many things I want to say.
Yeah, let's talk.
Yeah, so Golden Back,
Yeah.
the many teachers, I just love that, there's a lot of my clients who sometimes come to me and they're like, oh, well, I saw this other person, and I'm like, yay, that's great. I'm not
Yeah.
it for you. I'm not the one and only. Like,
Yeah.
you
Mm,
have to go see. I don't have
yes.
everything you need.
Yes.
And just like we named this podcast, The Perfect Step, through every layer, there's going to be another teacher at the next perfect step for you. The more you keep going on your journey, the more people show up. And I love that you said it, because what I think what a teacher really is I'm sharing my experience in my journey and holding space for you to find yours. And I think that that's what teachers are supposed to do. We're not supposed to control your journey. We're supposed to hold space for you to find yours and support you by sharing our experience and teaching you what helped us. And great if it helps you to find your way, and hold space for you to find your older, even if that means it's through somebody else, even if it's the next teacher. I'm grateful I was a step on your path, but I'm not the it. I'm not the end. Keep going, keep finding the next one, So I love that you alliterated.
There's a phrase I like to add to that, and I'm so with you on that. And I like to say a good teacher will always be helping you. And a good teacher is always pointing you back to yourself, not towards them. A good teacher will always liberate you into your knowing, not theirs. Liberate us. And it takes a lot of courage. And I think a lot of people, I know I've had this issue where my inner voice to say, you're done now with this person for now. Because I don't believe in black and whites. I believe in the nonlinear spiral of the universe, that you might meet them again at a higher octave. You don't know. Like, this is a grand mystery of becoming in this universe. And you just might meet someone perfectly aligned later on at a different time. But, I really want to tell the audience and people that your inner voice, to listen to it when you're ready. And it's saying, okay, it's time. And you really know, because knowing is a very visceral yes. It's an expansive yes, that you can trust that voice. And a lot of people might not be able to trust that when they know maybe they got into a religious group and they know it's time to go, to grow more. And it takes a lot of courage to follow your inner sovereignty, to follow your inner knowing. So that's a big one in
Yeah,
this world.
same thing with books too. Like I've gone and read books and then
Yeah.
gone back years later and read the same book. And it's like I hear a whole different book because
Yeah.
it's just new. Like I've learned something new from the book I've already read a few times ago. So the same thing. Yeah. Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
that's a good analogy. I like that one. Yeah.
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 Yeah. And the same thing with you saying outside, like we're always trying to astral project, or we're trying to communicate with other beings from other universes and stuff, which is all great and helpful too. But
It
really,
is. Yeah.
inside the human body, right? There's heaven on earth right here in our physical
Yeah.
body,
Oof.
right? So yeah, we gotta
I'm
find the
loving the things you're
value.
picking up.
We've got to find the value right here in
Yeah.
us as much as out
Yeah.
there, right? We're
Yeah.
equal, not one above the other. Like we're just as powerful right here.
Great. Can I add to that too?
Yeah.
This is so good. I like to say, so I used to astral project a lot and had a lot of, this is how I know there's no death. I've had a lot of disembodied experiences where I talk to beings, beautiful beings, and it was very visceral and very real. And I was like, wow. But there came a moment in my spiritual journey, and again, that's a really beautiful experience to have. I mean, it's magical. It's part of being human, to have connection to the other side, to have connection to the stars, But when I got to my center inside my body, I became the center of my experience. I could rely that's where my okayness and my peace got deeper, is when I entered myself in the deep brightness, that's the deep God spark that's sitting inside my chest. That's what, in my belly. I like to say definitely the lower belly. And this is when the angels and all those experiences had a place to touch the earth. I became the runway for God. So, or you could say the runway for existence to actually land and become real. And this is really important for a lot of people who feel like, I can't ground. Well, the moment we start grounding and learning, we can regulate easier. And I believe it becomes an antenna for the whole universe to land in all of its wisdom and actually be transmitted to each person we meet. But not being in the body, that transmission is very hard to be had, to be lived, to be real, to be very real. Yeah.
So Jacob, I know this is part of your work and your teaching. Could you share with our listeners maybe a technique to kind of help them to come into their body and their center? Is that something that you'd like to share?
I love that. Yeah. So, one of the inquiries I want to start with, which is a fun one, is just notice where you could do this throughout the day. Notice where your attention mostly is. And you might be like, well, it's on thoughts, it's on to do. It's like, okay, when's the last time you allowed, this is the key word, allow, because it's not so much doing, allowed your attention to rest in your feet? And you just sat there going, okay, I'm going to rest in my feet. And you took a deep breath and you allowed your feet to actually feel their presence here on the earth. Like they're actually here. I wonder what your feet would say about being here. And say, just feel your feet right here, right now on the earth. And I guarantee they're joyful to be here, beyond our own dilemma of our mind of what we think is right or wrong. I guarantee there's a part of your body, if not your feet, maybe you went somewhere else, that is very happy that it's here, that it got to be here, that it got to breathe, that it got to eat, and that I got to pulse blood, that I got to actually feel what it's like to be a hand and do this. So just be with that right now. What part of your body is like, wow, I actually got to be here. I got to be alive. I got to be here. And breathe into it. Give it acknowledgement. Like, I'm hearing your excitement. I hear your excitement. Thank you. And if it's hard for you to picture something for anyone in the audience, I imagine what's the last thing that you found very pleasurable, even if it's scratching your head. And they're like, ah, you get that one of those things, the little head scratcher things. Even that, it's very few people who don't find pleasure through that one. It's gonna be hard. And my invitation here now is to breathe into that pleasure, breathe into that inherent joy that's resting inside of that. Because there's an intelligence there of knowing, of being incarnate and being here. And I want you to allow that to be celebrated, to be acknowledged into this moment, to be grateful for that feeling of being in a body and being here. And if you can, after this, just keep expanding that. See if you can dip yourself even deeper into that intelligence. Because what happens, just like any practice, any learning a new skill or muscle, the more you enter it, the more it reveals itself. So if we enter into this gratitude and into the body, the more your body's like, oh, you're listening. Thank you. Okay, I'll speak more. Here you go. Oh, you're listening. Okay, you really care. You do want to relate. Okay, then here's more intelligence. So this is the beginning aspect, is rest in the body. The feet are a great place to be because it draws our head, mental energy, which is quicker. It goes like this. Then if we go down here, this is pretty quick too. The throat, and then we go down to the heart, it's slower, slower, slower. And it's not slower vibration is good or bad. Slower vibration is a way to integrate into here. So when we bring our attention to the feet, we can slow down and we can go, oh, I actually do feel calmer when I allow my attention, allow to rest downward. And then your bodies can go, oh, you're listening. Here's more information and intelligence because now you're here. I'll participate with you. And it might take a little bit of trust from your body. Just like I work with horses with my dear, dear friend, Michelle Peterson, shout out to her too, who does horse work here. If a horse is traumatized, it's not just going to relate to you right away. It's not going to be like, oh yeah, here, hi. It takes time of trust. Horses are a great analogy, I find, with the body. They're almost the same. So if we disregarded the body, we might have to mourn a little, like, oh yeah, I haven't listened to you, or I abused you a little. I'm sorry. Like do a Ho'oponopono prayer. It's the same with a horse. If a horse has been mistreated, it's going to be fickle with you for a while. And then the more you love it, the more you show up, consistency, the horse will open and start relating to you in the deepest, profoundest, loving way and trust you. She actually just rehabilitated a wild Mustang. That was, I mean, the stories are cool. You can link her here too. And I'll link all my teachers and friends here because they're all gifts on my path of understanding. The body acts the same way. So when you're working with a horse, if they're in a pen, you enter the pen, and what do? You stay on the periphery first. You're like, I'm not going to enter your space. I'm going to allow you. I'm going to be present. I'm going to breathe. I'm going to allow you. It's the same with the body. You enter the body, you're on the periphery first, and you go, I'm not going to force you to talk to me. I'm going to allow you to have the space of safety. Because in the environment of safety, all intelligence blooms. So when there's a safe environment, it gives all the possibility of intelligence to bloom. That happens with a horse, it happens with our body, it happens with all of nature. You see? Now that Mustang is best friends with her and cuddles her. I was lucky enough to help her with one horse named Milagro for a little while, and he was a Mexican dancing horse that was abused, and he would bite and kick, and people would call him Monster Horse. You can't ride him, he's the monster horse. Guess what? He became the greatest loving stud there ever was. It's a beautiful black, masculine, dancing horse that became a horse of deep love given the right environment. And now he's an incredible being that comes right up to you, nuzzles you, and talks to you. So this is the same with the body. This is the same with what we are relearning as a human species, I believe, is this sense of listening and reverence and how this creation works. Yeah.
I
So
think
that's
that was a really
yeah,
important
yeah,
analogy with the horse.
yeah.
Because it's so true. If we think about how we've been talking to our own body for years, right? Since like teenage, high school, grade school, even it starts with I'm overweight or my hair's too short. Any of those things, right? We have been talking
Mm.
so bad about our bodies. And if we almost step out for a minute and think about the horse, if you were to talk to the horse like that for 20 years or however long, yes, that horse would not want to be anywhere near you. And you don't just one day walk up and say an affirmation to the horse or look in the mirror and say, I love you today, that suddenly the horse is going to be like, okay, finally. Like, we have to talk and really start to truly believe it and feel it. Let our body feel it in order for it to regain that trust. Like, you don't just say, I love you one time and it's like, oh, okay, I believe you today after 25 years of you telling me that I'm
Yeah,
all wrong, right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, we
yeah.
need to spend time with our
Mm.
own body in order to start hearing it talk back to us.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't
Yeah.
want to talk to us. If somebody talked to me like that for 20 years, I wouldn't want to talk to them either, right? Like,
Well, a radical view is, I work with a lot of people from sex trafficked victims. We're talking about high level sex trafficked people, which, you get shut down. Their body's shut down. The voice got shut down. It doesn't know how to speak yet. But the environment and the love is going to help that process be remembered again of how it can voice itself. So be it horses, be it people, we need the environment to remember. And my good friend Hunter Devlin would say, I do men's groups here. I started a beautiful men's group for men to start learning to revoice their feelings and feel, is that love is action. It's not just words. Love is action. It is really showing up. It's really dedicating ourselves to the process. So yeah, words are wonderful, but it's another thing to consistently, because if you really value something, you're going to act. If you really value something, that's love. You're going to consistently show up. And through consistent action and how you show up with that attitude, anything in creation will eventually warm up. It's because love is the language of this universe, and it is the language of the body. Just like if I went to France, if I want to open a person, I would have to speak French. Like, oh, he speaks French. Okay. And they open. But if I want to speak to the body, the language is love. The language is compassion, and the body will open naturally. Just like the language in, another country is that the language of the body is always love. And that means we might have to listen to the wounding of years of, forgiveness. That's a hard one for a lot of people to forgive ourselves that we hurt ourselves in our body. I have my version of it deeply, right? It's like we all did in this culture. For some reason, we have this body image that is we can beat ourselves up, and our body only knows love. It only knows that it loves being here for you, and it just wants to express itself. And if we can touch that level with love and action, the body will become our ally and best friend again. I actually believe that is the recourse to healing almost everything on every level. I know myself, I've healed a few deep autoimmune diseases and have healed things that, I mean, I only can say it's a miracle. This is why I teach it and help people on my table, is that the things that have occurred in me and in clients, but first here in myself, have been miracles. You could even say they're miracles to the medical establishment of the Western medicine, which I highly agree with in a lot of ways. I never like to be black and white. If you need I know some great doctors, cardiologists, and different doctors, main doctors. They're amazing people. They're professionals, but there is a realm of our own sovereign intelligence that can heal us. And that's all I'm saying. Tapping into that. Yeah. That means we might have to listen to some trauma. That's real. I mean, it might come up. You go into your belly's like, but I don't like myself. I don't like how I look. Okay, that's the beginning. There we are. We're at the beginning of like what your body listened to in the beginning. Okay, cool. Oh, I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. Let me hold space for that. And the body's like, okay, I exhausted that out. Thank you. Okay, I can be myself again. So, this process might be uncomfortable in the beginning for a lot of people because there's some real dark voices that we fed ourselves, but they are not truth and they will disappear. Because underneath, that's only a crust. The dark voices are but a crust to the vast amount of joy and love underneath it. And if we can just break that through safety, we'll find a tremendous amount of love and allyship with our body. Yeah.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
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 So can you share with what you're doing? And I know you're doing some weekly
Yeah.
healing. You're inviting
Yeah.
people to come in.
Yeah. Oh, I have so much fun. So I've been having a private practice for over a decade now, with energy healing and body work. Now, my energy healing is very body based. That's where it is at this stage in my practice. So I do a lot of Occidental medicine. I'm training under an acupuncturist right now, and I'm seeing how energy weaves through the body. So a lot of my practice for the last 10 years has been reweaving the intelligence and realigning the intelligence through people's bodies. And I do it on Zoom and I do it through my private practice here in Sedona, this amazing place. I'm happy to be here. And recently this subject has become so passionate, and I just want to offer it to the world that I'm doing free classes online twice a week. And we do midday check-ins, and I just want people to really feel how beautiful they are and significant and how they can tap their own healing intelligence. So I have a Tuesday class and Thursday class that happens midday for Mountain Standard Time, 1 p.m. And the premise of this class is just for people to tap in, but also to do it midday so they can tap into this inherent intelligence midday. Or, people in Portugal have a different time. People from Portugal come too. And then they can go, okay, I'm here. And it's a practice. So then when they, leave the session, they can go back into their life with this deeper sense of connection and skillfulness to help everyone around them from the deep love in their body. So it's just an offering I have for the world. And the way I teach is, I've practiced martial arts for a long time and different forms of movement. So I use time-tested uh, techniques to get people into that sense of safety, into that sense of intelligence. I've been practicing that for a while. My dad's coming. So great. If my dad's listening to the interview, I love you, man. Love that you come to class. He likes to listen to his interviews. So Yeah, and my dad wasn't really in that energetic world. So he's even like, wow, this is really good work, you know? So anyone can come. I have advanced practitioners from all around the world to people who are like, I don't know, I just know I need to calm down. I don't even know what energy is. What's energy? And they still have a big impact in their system. It's pretty cool. Yeah. So what I'm doing is I'm facilitating because I can feel everyone's body, but it's your intelligence that's doing the work. I am just the space, just like any healing. I'm just the space of holding a frequency and passion and dedication. And it's your body that's saying, yeah, I think I would like to reconnect now. And it happens. You do the work, you know? And the work is not work, it's allowing to, we forgot to just allow wisdom to just reconnect itself,
That's beautiful
which is
too.
a whole
Not,
thing. Yeah.
yeah, not only do you get to hold that space, but people get to show up in
Mm.
together, and you get to say, I know that I need to be here, and I'm not alone, because everybody else who showed up because they felt they needed to be there too, and I'm not alone. Yeah, so that's just wonderful.
Yeah. And we can always talk about the collective vibration of a group. It is, I do not care what people say, but it is palpable. It is strong. And man, to work I mean, working by yourself can only go for so long and probably pretty deep too. But working with a group is such a unique opportunity of reflection and energy. I mean, we are a tribal species, even if you're introverted. We are tribal. There is a sense of a deepening when we're together. So a lot of magic happens. Yeah.
Yeah, you
Great
talked about
connection.
that earlier in the beginning,
Yeah.
and Laurie knows. I mean, I'm one for shadow work, deep work, whatever you want to say.
Mm.
I'll go deep, but I need Laurie. Like, I'll call Laurie and she gives me
Yeah.
I've gone too deep, and she gives me this beautiful new perspective just by being able to talk to her. I mean,
Yeah.
this is, part of why we started this was we wanted more people to be able to feel the way we did when we talked to one another. And
I love that.
you need that group, because you can do seriously great deep work by yourself, but you need somebody else to help give yourself the space to put it into perspective, or to see a new perspective, and to feel the love from somebody else supporting and holding space for you.
Yes. I mean, I think you heard of the philosopher poet named John O'Donohue, yeah? He's a
I
Celtic. Okay, he has a book called Anamkara. Anamkara as a translation means divine soul friend. And in the Celtic traditions, one of their wisdoms they've passed along is one of our missions here is to find our Anamkaras. And it's almost like we're going around collecting our Anamkaras. And they, like Plato and Aristotle, were Anamkaras. They helped each other. Plato and Aristotle blossomed each other. So it's this divine relationship, knowing that we can, there's a couple layers to this, that we can share our deepest part, right, to someone and be like, wow, I feel held. That in itself is healing. That's what the process of a therapist is meant to do. They're meant to, I think, emulate that process of safety and soul connection so someone can reveal themselves. But also, the deeper aspect of it is saying, you're okay with who you are, you belong. And that, ooh, the process of belonging is probably one of the most healing aspects of being human. If we can start feeling belonging, I think most of our healing anxieties and other mental imbalances of all kinds would go away. The body has an innate wisdom, somatic wisdom and remembering of belonging when we can access it. And then to have it with a friend is even more so. So, I mean, if not, I would say if it's not only just useful and beneficial, it is necessary.
Yeah, we're wired for connection, aren't we, Jacob? We
We're wired for
need each
connection.
other, and I missed
Yeah.
I miss that when we don't have it. So when we get together,
Mhm.
right now, this is a connective conversation, and it feels wonderful. Well, it feels great to have this energy to share together.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, yeah. Um, I like to say, like, even if we're introverted, like, I don't want to connect with people. And in a sense, we actually do. And I'm gonna say on this premise is that my working definition of health is when two things are in communication. That's health. When something disease for me is when things cannot communicate, when they can't connect. So then you get stagnancy, then you get miscommunication, and that's actually how cancer forms, is when things don't properly communicate so that they can't eradicate something. Health is when all things are communicative. So there's an equal giving back and forth, there's a connection. You can look at an ecosystem, the same thing happens in an ecosystem. If they're not in communication, there is going to be an imbalance. Same with our body. And same with socialization, micro, macro. It all has a deep wisdom to it. Yeah.
I like how you said our body is an ecosystem. I think I never really thought of it that way, but it makes complete sense. I like that.
The landscape you see outside here, whatever it is for you, it's nature. Not, I mean, you could actually even say a city in a weird way, but that's a whole nother discussion. The landscape outside you and the landscape here are one and the same. You're not different from how the healing of an environment happens to your body. There's actually no difference. It's nature. So the how you could heal something, how you would um honor something out there can be the same healing in here. There's rivers flowing in our blood, the lymph, the bones are like mountains, there's structure, there's landscape in our body. Um, I like to call it the poetics of the body. It's real. It has its own language, just like the poetics of the land. Yeah. So if we see it that way, we can find more healing and more reverence. We water it, we feed it, we groom it, we clean it. Um, if you see it as like make sure that the rivers are unblocked in yourself, you'll feel very healthy. You know, that's my practice of qigong every day in martial arts. A deep practitioner now of that because the wisdom that has been passed down where we were more connected to nature is pretty profound to keep healthy, to keep the rivers flowing, to keep the fire lit inside of you, the spirit, the shen. Or in Ayurveda, we call it the Agni. So, this deep, we want every element functioning. How is the wood, the earth, the air, the ether, the fire, the water? The water is a very important one. Yeah. And that's a whole nother discussion too. So, yeah, there's so many realms you can go down here. Yeah. So I'm an Ayurvedic counselor, studied Ayurveda, but right now I'm mentoring in the Chinese system, which is really humbling me in how wise humanity has been for thousands of years and how critical it's going to be to stay with that deep wisdom as time continues with technology because it's part of our spirit. Nature is our spirit. So if we disregard that, we're going to be losing something inside. And I'm not against technology. I love it. Look what we're doing now. And then there's so many cool things. But if we disregard nature, we're going to be losing something inside ourselves pretty dramatically. And I think it has to do with our spirit, with our shen, our humanness. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a balance there, just like you were saying with everything, just like with Western medicine and Eastern medicine or the spiritual herbalist, oleopath, all of that. We have to start, we've talked about this before. We have to start valuing each other so that we start healing as a whole. There's a place for Western, there's a place for what we take from the past, from that, and to bring it forward, just as there is a place for technology and a place for nature. And we've got to bring both in for it to be whole. We've got to start pushing away one's bad, one's good, and bring them both together to be a whole, to make that balance.
Well said. And I think it's gonna take this is the hard I think this is the hard part. This is like the linchpin. I think we have to mean, I work with both. I work with Eastern doctors, I work with Western doctors, and I think we need to let go of having such a dogmatic position and allow and really listening to each other and believing that we can both have a place within the whole. Because some people are like, no, it can only be this way. It could even be an Eastern doctor or energy worker. No, only energy work. It's like, no, 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 no. Like maybe, no. I haven't seen an example yet. I've seen that when we can allow each other to have a place within everything, the whole, this world would function really beautifully. And it seems that we have a divisive consciousness, like even the party system, political. I'm not going, I won't talk about politics.
Right.
But we have so many decisive acts, like, oh, it's either this or that. And it's like, what if we had more honest conversations and allowed each other to have a voice and see that we do actually fit in very well together? And that takes a lot of humbleness, that takes a lot of empathic relearning, emotional literacy, all these things. So, one of my superpowers, I love hearing people's superpowers, it's been my subject today, is inclusivity and kindness. If I bring in inclusivity and kindness into a situation, I won. I won. Who did I win? My peace. I won my peace. I brought my being to the situation. So this is something I promote, and everyone always has a voice around me. That's just like it's the same as my work. When I touch a body, I need the body to talk and have a voice and make it, feel safe. And I go to parties like, what's your hobby? I'm like, safety. What's your hobby? They're like,
I like that.
they're like, what?
I was reading a book recently and it was talking about everything being actually neutral, right? Everything being neutral.
Nice.
And then we come in with, so if I value myself, I can value somebody else's opinion. And everything's really neutral, but can I sit in my own value enough to value yours too? And judgment. If I'm not judging myself, I won't judge you, because actually everything's neutral until I judge it and give it a right or a wrong. And then that's where the conflict comes. So I've been really sitting like you with the superpower lately with that concept that everything's neutral until I give it a meaning or a judgment. And if there's judgment there, then there's somewhere I'm judging myself and therefore judging others. So
Yeah, I love that. I like to say when you're secure in yourself and you feel worthiness, you don't need to battle anymore. You don't need to prove, you don't need to put anyone down. You can allow someone to be who they are. But the moment we're trying to change someone, we can already see that we're insecure at some level. It's a reflection. And you said that so perfectly. That's on point. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's a deep conversation for today's day and age.
it was for me too. So
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
still one I'm
Yeah,
sitting with.
yeah, yeah. And the question comes down to how can we feel worthy and secure? What can you do today to value yourself just a little more so you don't have to be at war? I think that's a really great question. Like, how can we do one action? Because actions build, and a lot of us like New Year's resolutions, New Year's resolutions. We go all out instead of just really getting good at one thing, because that one thing of valuing yourself or self-care can make dramatic differences. Listening and just going, oh yeah, I can do that. And when that gets done, we have more confidence and value in our system, and people feel safer around you. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Jacob. This has just been an amazing conversation.
Yeah,
And
I enjoyed it. Thank you, ladies. Yeah, it's great.
Very much so. Thank you.
We're gonna share, yeah, if you'd send us the links to your teachers, but we'll share your
Yes,
website
I'd love to.
and
yeah.
maybe about your weekly classes. We'll put that
Of
in.
course. The weekly classes, they're seen on my website, jmasseyhealing.com, under workshops and events.
Okay, good.
You can also sign up on my newsletter where I'll put that out weekly and you'll see all the little fun things we're doing. So,
I signed up for that. I like your
yeah.
newsletter.
I
Okay,
will
great.
be signing up for that.
Yeah,
Mhm,
please.
yay.
Great.
I think
Yeah,
we could just talk for hours. This is amazing,
we
but
could.
do you
Yeah.
have anything, either of you have anything else to add before
Hmm.
we close?
No, this was just a beautiful, beautiful conversation. I
Yes.
loved it and could, yeah, go on for hours and hours. And I just thank you. Thank you for bringing this and allowing this conversation to happen.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I love sharing and I love having conversations with everyone around the world, especially when there's openness. So I really enjoyed myself and um let's just keep the conversation continuing with everyone and everything. I think we're doing great work here and I love that you're doing this podcast to put more voices in the world. So thank you. Excellent.
Welcome. We'll have to have you back, Jacob. So,
Okay, I would love to come back. Yeah.
mhm.
Done.
Thank you so much.
Nice. Thank you. Mm.
Well, we want to thank you all for joining us. Until next time, have a wonderful afternoon.